While America rested on its laurels of trust, Germany was quietly forging new economic ties with China, preparing for the moment when the cup of trade wars would overflow. This involves billions of dollars in deals, infrastructure projects financed by China, and the reorientation of key supplies. Is this the beginning of a new era, where Germany acts as a catalyst for shifting the global balance of power? American businesses are scaling back production, consumers are feeling the burden of rising prices, and technology giants are losing their former power. The reason lies in the redirection of German exports, which are critical for the production of smartphones, high-tech equipment, and the development of green energy directly to China. This move cannot be called spontaneous. It seems that Germany foresaw the escalation of trade disputes with the U.S. and made agreements with China in advance, remaining in the shadows. The question arises, has America been placed in the position of a deceived player? And if Germany is now leaning towards China, what consequences will this have for the world order? The second day of April 2025 marked events that many in the world feared and became a turning point in international relations. The day that the Trump administration proclaimed as Liberation Day turned out to be quite different. It provoked an unprecedented wave of hostility towards the United States. America, as if with one blow of an axe, cut itself off from its closest trading partners by introducing unexpected tariffs. Although such steps were predicted, the scale, speed, and consequences of this decision stunned even the most insightful analysts. The new tariff blow struck swiftly and mercilessly. Almost all imports from countries such as Germany, Japan, and South Korea were subject to duties ranging from 20% to an incredible 145%. President Trump called this an act of economic patriotism, but for the rest of the world, including American companies, it looked like economic suicide. It was not just about raising prices, but about the largest tariffs since World War II, which threatened to destroy the global trading system that had been created for decades. Germany, one of the key trade and economic allies of the United States, reacted immediately. Just a few days after the introduction of the new rules, financial flows changed their direction, and billions of dollars that had previously circulated in the Western world rushed to the East. Exports, which included a wide range of products, from high-precision instruments to advanced electronics, began their journey directly to China. America faced serious consequences. It not only lost valuable goods, but also lost the trust of partners, as well as access to materials that supported the operation of its production facilities. In this sudden change, a logical question arises. Why did Germany prefer to seek new horizons in China, rather than resume cooperation with the United States? The American technology industry relies heavily on German components, from microchips used in smartphones to engines that drive robots. German products may have remained in the shadows, but they were a key element ensuring American innovation. However, when a 20% duty was imposed on German goods, German manufacturers decided to stop deliveries. Their products became prohibitively expensive for the American market, and Germany found a new, promising buyer in China. In 2024, Germany invested a record $12 billion in the Chinese economy. These funds were directed not only to the construction of factories abroad, but also to the gradual weakening of American industry. Large companies such as Siemens and Bosch did not waste time and actively joined this process. Germany, quickly adapting to the new economic conditions, reoriented its export flows to the east, concluding profitable contracts with Chinese partners and shifting the emphasis in its trade policy. This strategic turn, which marked a change in priorities, was already evident in the United States by mid-April. In the states of Texas, Kentucky, and Michigan, industrial conveyors suddenly stopped, plunging entire cities into a state of stupor, whose economies were inextricably linked to production. The reason for this was not so much the weakness of demand, but the acute shortage of components caused by the redirection of German exports. This blow was felt not only financially, but also became a harbinger of a large-scale industrial crisis. According to German industrialists, many years of trade wars and political pressure from the United States have revealed a significant shortcoming of the American side: unpredictability. In contrast, China offered stability and clear rules, consistent economic growth, transparent trade agreements, and no threat of new tariffs with every change in political direction. But what did the U.S. actually lose as a result of this unexpected shift? By gaining Germany as a strategic economic partner, China achieved more than just a tactical victory in the trade war. It changed the very rules of the game on the world stage. Now, Equipped with high-quality and affordable German components, Chinese enterprises have the opportunity to operate at full capacity, strengthening their position in the global economy. According to information provided by the Ministry of Commerce of the PRC, April saw an impressive 12% growth in exports of electronics and technology. Notably, Chinese goods did not just flood Asian countries, but also triumphantly saturated global markets, offering prices that American manufacturers found extremely difficult to compete with. At the same time, China actively expanded its trade infrastructure, creating new railway routes connecting Europe and Asia, developing ports along the legendary Silk Road, and strengthening partnerships with leading German logistics and shipping companies. This was not just about increasing production volumes, but also about seeking to establish control over global logistics flows, while the United States found itself on the sidelines of this process. American businesses faced serious difficulties. Prices for imported components soared, and delivery times increased significantly. As a result, American companies began to lose market share not only in China, but also in Europe and Latin America. In some cases, they were unable to fulfill orders, which threatened their competitiveness. In its quest to isolate China, America may have inadvertently isolated itself from future development prospects. Germany's shift towards China was an important step, especially in the field of green technologies, where Germany traditionally occupies a leading position, from solar panels to electric vehicles. This strategic alliance opens up new opportunities for both countries in the field of sustainable development and innovation. China could not stand aside from the global race for technological leadership. In recent years, Beijing has directed over $1 billion to joint scientific research and development with German concerns. Their alliance has spawned innovative batteries, hydrogen fuel systems, and new-generation solar panels. This collaboration has provided employment for over 7,000 people, mostly in China. German engineering, embodied in Chinese factories, has formed a powerful tandem, leaving the United States outside this promising picture. One of the iconic examples of such a partnership is the deal between Volkswagen and the Chinese company BioID, aimed at creating an advanced platform for electric vehicles. Production capacity is fully concentrated in China, while the technological base relies on German developments. The result is the emergence of a new generation of electric vehicles, in which American manufacturers are relegated to the role of outside observers, unable to compete. Against this backdrop, American companies, such as Lucy Motors, are reporting product delivery delays of months. The U.S. Department of Energy reports a nearly one-third drop in the number of new clean energy projects in just one quarter. Even government funding has failed to reverse the negative trend. The energy project in Tenos, which received generous government support, has turned into a ghost due to soaring component prices. In Colorado, a hydrogen plant was forced to cut staff, facing the impossibility of acquiring the necessary equipment. The trade tariffs introduced by the Trump administration were conceived as a triumph, as a symbol of America's economic independence. They promised protection of labor resources, a renaissance of industry, and the establishment of fair trade rules. However, the reality turned out to be cruel. American production slowed down, allies began to seek new alliances, and ambitious U.S. plans in the field of clean energy were never realized. The resulting vacuum was rapidly filled by China. Instead of a triumphant trade war, America began a hasty retreat, leaving behind vast territories in which China strengthened its leading position. What awaits the world ahead? One thing is certain: if April 2nd became a day of liberation, then perhaps it was on this day that the world was freed from American hegemony. One of the most notable victims of this global shift has been the American icon, Tesla. It is truly striking to watch the rapid decline of Tesla, once the undisputed leader of the global electric vehicle industry. European consumers, once captivated by the innovative style, performance, and eco-friendly image of Tesla, have recently turned away from Elon Musk's creation. In 2025, the company's triumphant journey faced significant hurdles. In Germany, the heart of the European electric vehicle market, Tesla's sales plummeted by an astounding 76% in February. Across the European Union, January saw a 45% drop, even as the overall electric vehicle market grew by 30%. While Tesla loses ground, European automakers like Volkswagen, Renault, and Peugeot are showing impressive growth, offering more affordable models, fresher designs, and improved service. However, the reasons for Tesla's crisis go beyond market competition, extending to Elon Musk himself, whose behavior has sparked outrage in Europe. A survey in the United Kingdom revealed that 59% of potential electric vehicle buyers are now consciously choosing not to purchase a Tesla. This is due to Musk's support for the German far-right party, Alternative for Germany (AfD), and his political statements, which many Europeans consider dangerous and radical. Elon Musk, having transformed from a successful CEO into a controversial figure, is undermining the reputation of a company that was once a symbol of innovation and progress. He was once an iconic figure whose ambitious projects in space exploration and electric vehicles fueled hopes for a brighter future. European leaders and environmental activists welcomed his innovative ideas, seeing him as a harbinger of a new era. However, the triumph was short-lived. In early 2025, a sharp change of course followed. Musk criticized the European Union's climate policy, calling the Green Deal a destructive enterprise that only benefits China. He openly expressed support for Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni and even participated in financing her nationalist party, sparking outrage in Brussels and alienating many Europeans committed to democratic values and environmental protection. The reaction was immediate. European authorities began to curtail support programs, suspend contracts, and initiate audits of Tesla for compliance with tax and labor laws. Consumers also took action. For many Europeans, Musk ceased to be a symbol of progress, becoming an embodiment of a new wave of radicalism. And they are expressing their disagreement by voting against his products with their wallets. But these aren't the only difficulties Tesla has encountered. The company's position was further complicated after Trump imposed 25% tariffs on imported steel and aluminum. In response, the European Union retaliated by imposing new tariffs on American goods totaling $23 billion, affecting iconic brands such as Levi's jeans and Boeing aircraft. The blows were not glancing but struck at the heart of economic interests. Boeing, already facing contract losses, must now contend with rising costs and the prospect of staff reductions, which manufacturers are already warning about. Even Canada, traditionally a loyal ally of the United States, did not stand idly by and took retaliatory measures. In an unprecedented move, Ottawa imposed tariffs on American agricultural products, machinery, and even defense industry components. Chrystia Freeland, Canada's Minister of Transport and Intergovernmental Affairs, described the U.S. actions as a direct attack on North American trade, warning of the potential undermining of decades of economic cooperation. The consequences of these steps are snowballing. American farmers are losing markets, and automakers are forced to revise their forecasts downward. Public anxiety is growing, as many see this as only the beginning of a larger global trade crisis. Canada, until recently considered the closest trading partner of the United States, fired a warning shot, the echo of which reached even Beijing. While Canada and Europe launched a direct retaliatory strike, other countries, such as Mexico and Brazil, preferred to take a more wait-and-see approach, choosing a strategy of quiet diplomacy. In response to the protectionist measures of the United States, the global steel market is undergoing a period of tense adaptation. Mexico, one of the leading suppliers of steel to the U.S., is demonstrating a restrained reaction, calling for dialogue as a way to avoid escalating the conflict. However, it states its readiness to reconsider its position if negotiations do not yield results. Brazil has also expressed disagreement with the American tariffs, considering them unfair. Instead of immediate retaliatory measures, the country has filed a complaint with the World Trade Organization, seeking to resolve the dispute within the framework of international rules. Nevertheless, the domestic political situation is heating up. Brazil's steel and agricultural sectors are insisting on a tougher response, which is putting additional pressure on the government, which is trying to maintain stable relations with Washington. Canada is demonstrating the most radical shift. Faced with new tariffs on steel, aluminum, and agricultural products, Ottawa has begun to diversify its economy. In this situation, China saw an opportunity to strengthen its position by initiating the expansion of trade ties with Canada. The retaliatory measures developed by the Canadian government clearly show that the country does not intend to remain in a vulnerable position and is ready to actively defend its economic interests. However, behind the scenes of the trade battles, a process with a much deeper meaning is unfolding. Canada is reviewing the fundamental principles of its foreign trade policy. In the first months of the 25th year, exports of Canadian goods to China soared by 42%, with energy, food, and strategically important rare earth metals leading the growth. At the same time, there is an increase in Chinese investment in Canadian port infrastructure and logistics networks, especially in British Columbia. Flows of Canadian wheat and pork, previously oriented towards the United States market, are now being directed to Chinese consumers in large volumes. These steps not only expand the geography of Canadian trade relations, but also create a solid foothold for China in the Western Hemisphere. The calculations of American politicians that tariff restrictions will weaken the Chinese economy do not seem to be justified. Chinese industry is experiencing a period of rapid development not because of unhindered access to Western markets, but rather in spite of it, in a situation of dire need for survival and the search for new paths. In particular, these measures have served as a powerful stimulus for the development of the Chinese semiconductor industry. China, once lagging behind leaders in this field such as the United States and Taiwan, has made an impressive leap in the development and production of its own microchips. Over the past year and a half, new factories equipped with domestically produced photolithographic equipment have been put into operation in the country. The latest Longsing V4 chip is triumphantly marching through China, becoming the brain center of government systems, the defense industry, and advanced developments in the field of artificial intelligence. The country, once dependent on imported technologies, is now investing colossal funds in creating its own independent technological ecosystem. Observing the birth of a new technological superpower, Canadian businesses are showing increasing interest in partnerships and joint projects with Chinese companies. The Canadian government, in turn, is demonstrating its willingness to cooperate by easing restrictions on technology transfer to China. This step can be seen as another sign that trust in Washington is gradually weakening. Perhaps Canada is only the first sign of this process, but it will clearly not be the last. More and more U.S. allies are reassessing their priorities, finding new partners, and discovering new horizons of cooperation. In this regard, a natural question arises. How long will the United States be able to continue dictating its terms and pursuing a policy of red lines, risking ultimately being left alone? The world order is changing rapidly, and in order not to miss the key moments of this transformation, it is necessary to stay informed.